Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Today's story starts with a phrase you'll see on almost every Bolivian wedding traditions listicle online. Coca leaves are offered to Pachamama, the Earth Mother, to bless the union. Sounds simple, poetic, maybe even a little too neat. So naturally, that's exactly the kind of claim we love to dig into on this show. Is it true? Is it actually special to Bolivia? And what's the real story hiding underneath that one tidy sentence? Let's start with the leaf itself. Coca, called Coca in Quechua, is often called Mama Coca, and Andean communities consider it a gift directly from Pachamama, a kind of living bridge between the human world and the spirit world. The most iconic form of the offering is called a kintu. That's a small, precise bundle of exactly 3 perfect coca leaves, arranged so their tips point up toward the sky and their stems point down toward the earth. Those 3 leaves aren't random. In Andean cosmology, they represent the 3 worlds: the underworld, our world, and the upper spiritual world, so holding a kintu is like holding the whole universe in miniature. Now, where marriage specifically comes in. Among Quechua communities in the Bolivian Andes, coca plays a role at multiple stages of getting married, not just one. It starts early. When a boy and girl are still teenagers, a shaman performs a coca leaf reading, letting the leaves fall 3 times and interpreting the pattern to sense something about the young person's future and future partner. Later, when a young man is serious about a girl and the 2 families formally meet to discuss marriage, they perform something called the akuliku, which just means coca leaf chewing. Sharing coca together is literally how the 2 families open the negotiation and seal their goodwill. And at the meal that follows, there's the chala, a small libation where people spill a bit of chicha, a traditional corn drink, onto the ground as a toast to Pachamama before drinking the rest themselves. So why leaves, and why the earth specifically? The underlying idea is called aini, a Quechua and Aymara word for reciprocity. Andean spirituality treats Pachamama less like a distant goddess to worship from afar, and more like a living relative you have an ongoing relationship with. She feeds and shelters people, so people are expected to feed her back. Offering coca is literally described as giving Pachamama something to eat and drink, the same way you'd share food with your own mother. At a wedding specifically, this reciprocity does double duty. First, it's a request for blessing. Participants ask Pachamama and the mountain spirits, called apus, to grant the new couple health, harmony, and fertility. Second, the coca-sharing moments, like the akuliku between families, are social glue. The leaf becomes the object that lets 2 separate families formally agree to become one, almost like a handshake made sacred. And third, on a more personal level, coca is treated as a truth teller. Because it's used for divination as well as blessing, offering it before a marriage is also a way of asking the universe to confirm that this match is a good and honest one. Here's where we need to slow down, because ancient Inca ritual gets thrown around loosely online. What we can say with real confidence is that coca itself has been cultivated and used ceremonially in the Andes for an extremely long time. Archaeological and historical evidence points to coca use going back roughly 8,000 years, long before the Inca Empire even existed. The Inca, who ruled from around 1438 to 1533, then elevated coca to elite, sacred status, folding it into state rituals and restricting everyday access to it. But it's important to separate 2 different timelines: how old coca as a sacred plant is versus how old the specific offer coca to Pachamama at a wedding custom is. The plant's spiritual role is genuinely ancient and pre-Inca. The specific multi-stage wedding sequence described by ethnographers today, the childhood coca reading, the akuliku between families, the chala toast, is documented as a living community practice, but there's no single invention date for it the way there is for, say, a modern law. It's better understood as a very old spiritual framework, reverence for Pachamama, reciprocity through offerings, that got applied consistently to marriage alongside every other major life event over many centuries. The surrounding evidence strongly suggests this is not a museum piece. Coca chewing and offering remains so central to Bolivian identity that in 2013, Bolivia successfully fought to get a special legal exemption from the United Nations Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs, specifically to protect the right to chew coca leaves as a traditional, non-narcotic cultural practice. That is a strong signal. An entire country changed its relationship with an international treaty to defend this custom, which tells you it's woven deep into daily life, not just wedding folklore. Today, you'll also find coca ceremonies, including wedding-adjacent ones, offered to travelers and tourists in places like Peru's Sacred Valley, sometimes blended with Catholic elements like a priest and rings. That commercial, tourist-facing version is a newer layer, but the underlying community practice, coca readings, family coca sharing, offerings to Pachamama, is still actively carried out among Aymara and Quechua families, especially in rural highland communities, where it remains well-anchored rather than niche. And just like handfasting's cord or Italy's serenade, using a sacred plant to seal a marriage isn't unique to the Andes. In Igbo communities in Nigeria, no traditional wedding can proceed without the kola nut ceremony. The groom's family formally presents kola nuts to the bride's family, an elder blesses them with prayers to the ancestors, and then the nut is broken and shared as proof that both families and even the ancestors have agreed to the union. It's a strikingly similar structure, a specific plant, treated as sacred and life-giving, shared between families to make a marriage spiritually and socially real. Humans in completely unconnected parts of the world clearly landed on the same instinct. If a plant is sacred to your people, let it witness your biggest promise. So here's where we land. The claim that coca leaves are offered to Pachamama to bless Andean weddings is real, but it's really one piece of a much richer, ongoing relationship between Aymara and Quechua families and the earth, expressed through readings, shared chewing between families, and libations, not a single isolated gesture. It traces back to a genuinely ancient reverence for coca that predates the Inca Empire by thousands of years, even if the specific wedding sequence is better understood as that old world view applied consistently to marriage over centuries. And far from fading away, it's protected today at the level of international law and still actively practiced in highland communities across Bolivia and Peru. That's it for today's episode. If you ever find yourself offered 3 coca leaves at a celebration in the Andes, know that you're being invited into a conversation with the earth herself. See you next time.